Peter has a YouTube channel, and he also runs this blog called Behind the Craft by Peter Yang. It's creatoreconomy.so. He's also active on X, etc. You can find him if you want to see. But he's written these 15 hot takes on artificial intelligence. I'm finding myself agreeing with nearly every one of them. I'm not sure if that's because I have hot takes or because they're not that hot. Probably a bit of both. But I wanted to keep going through them because they're interesting talking points. So the next one is number 5. I think it's actually number 6, and his numbering's got messed up. Doesn't really matter. AI agents often aren't the right solution. Again, I agree with this. So every startup I talk to is building an AI agent, but agents are expensive and only make sense for complex, valuable tasks. The most valuable agent tasks, coding, research, productivity, also face intense competition from top AI labs. Can you really build another coding agent that's better than OpenAI and Anthropic? So he's built a lovely little flowchart, and this is very similar to something that I included in my AI automation accelerator, because we did, myself and Brand Knapp put together this accelerator, and one of the questions was, why are you teaching automation and not agents? And the answer to that is, well, you don't always need an agent. In fact, using an agent for a task adds a huge level of complexity, and more often than not, it will go wrong and it will make an absolute mess. It's still quite a nascent technology. It's probably where we're going, but right now it's overkill. So instead, you need to look at the task you're trying to perform and match the tool to the task. So Peter has gone ahead and he's made a little flowchart. So do you need AI? This is the first question, really important, because often you don't. So no, use a non-AI workflow. So if you're just moving data from one place to another, lots of people have started doing that with AI, and that's kind of a bad way to do it. You could do it using schema. You can use it, like you can use traditional code to move data around in a system. Using AI adds variability, adds randomness, and it actually makes it worse performing. So a lot of the time you don't need to use AI. You can use traditional code. If you do need to use AI, cool. Is the task complex? No. Use an AI workflow. So you don't need to go ahead and build out a whole agent. You can just build an automation. So let's say an email arrives from a customer. That email causes a trigger. This could be in Zapier, this could be in N8N, this could be in make.com, this could be something you've built custom, doesn't matter. It triggers a set of events, and there's a few steps. Some of them might be AI, some of them might be non-AI, and then it spits out a result at the end. That's a workflow. That is not an agent. A lot of people confuse the two. I'm actually going to talk about the difference in a minute using a different article, but lots of companies right now are just sticking the name agent or using the word agentic when all they've done is actually build a workflow. So whenever you see people like selling those N8N templates on social media, most of the time that's a workflow. Nothing wrong with a workflow. They're often better for simpler tasks, but they're not agents. So if your task is not complex, use a workflow. Use an automation sequence. You do not need an agent. Okay, if the task is complex, then we move to the next level. Is your task valuable? If no, again, just use an AI workflow. There is no point investing a huge amount of time and money into building an agent if it's not a valuable task. I would probably nudge this one up above complexity, honestly, because if it's not valuable, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Okay, but if the task is valuable, yes. We'll move to the next stage. High success rate and low cost of error. So I use a quadrant for this when I'm working with companies where we want to find tasks that, when successful, they save a lot of time, they save a lot of money, and when not successful, they don't do much damage. So a good example is, you probably wouldn't automate using AI your annual report that gets sent to your investors, because if something goes wrong with that report, there is a huge risk to your company. Well, at very least, you're going to look stupid. But worse than that, there could be legal and financial liabilities and problems caused by that. So if the task failing can have a huge impact on your business, you probably don't want to give it to AI. Interestingly, Gartner, the advisory firm, analyst and advisory firm, they just put out a report about the top AI coding tools, and they got it totally wrong. Like, there is a chart which shows the top tools, and I think it's got GitHub Copilot as one of the top ones, which is nonsense. It doesn't have Claude Code on the tool on there at all. It has like an Amazon tool, which I don't think exists or doesn't do what they say it does. They just messed it up. So somebody made such a huge error I don't know whether they used AI for this, but that makes Gartner look like absolute idiots. And somebody's going to lose their job because they published it, they went wide with it, and that's damaging to the company. So if there's anything that can damage the company because of the error, you probably don't want to use an agent, and you probably don't want to use AI. So do you need AI? Yes. Is the task complex? Yes. Is the task valuable? Yes. Is there a high success rate and a low cost of error? Yes. Then you can use an AI agent. So once you've gone through all of these different decisions, then you can start to look at agents. But until then, there are other ways to do it. You can simplify the task, you can use a workflow, or you can use no AI. So I thought that was a really useful table. It's something I've talked about before, but he's put it in a much better format. I need to up my graphic design so I can create stuff like this. Cool. So I'm going to keep dipping into this article. I linked it in my newsletter. I'll link it again tomorrow so you can go and check it out yourself.